Hello, how are you today? We got a new video tutorial, and today is dividing or multiplying by a negative in an inequality. So, you know the drill. Get out your notes. Get out a pencil or a pen. And let's go. So today's topic, divided or multiplied by a negative in an inequality. The topic is something like this: negative 3x is less than 6. And so you guys might be looking at this going, well, this is very simple. Because you guys know this says negative 3x or negative 3 times x, and you know that, hey, in order to solve this, you want to isolate the variable, you want to get x all by itself. And the way to do that is do the opposite. So the opposite of multiplying by negative 3x would be to divide by a negative 3x and divide by a negative 3x. But when you do that, this is what our topic is. When you do divide by that negative 3, well, yes, you get negative 2, right? 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2, but the inequality flips. The inequality flips when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Okay, so we can remember that, right? We can memorize that. The question is why? Why does it flip? Why, when you do, for example, here, what number when you divide by negative 2 is greater than or equal to 4? Well, again, here, the opposite of dividing by negative 2 would be to multiply by negative 2. This is going to cancel. You're going to multiply by negative 2 here. But now, I know 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, but you're going to flip that inequality. Okay, so we can remember that, we can memorize that, but the question is, why does it flip? Why? So let's just discuss that briefly, okay? So, this is a true statement. 2 is less than 4. This is a true statement. 3 is greater than 2. I'm going to get to the conclusion of why we flip that inequality when we divide by negative, when we divide or multiply by negative, okay? So this is true. So you know that if you do the same thing to both sides, you keep it balanced, right? So here, if I multiply by 2 and multiply by 2, this is still true. 4 is less than 8, right? That's still true. Okay. Likewise, if I multiply here by 3 and multiply by 3 here, 9 is still greater than 6. That's still true. Okay? But watch what happens when I take the same inequalities and multiply by a negative. So watch again. Here I multiplied this inequality by 2 and by 2. The statement's still true. Here I multiply by 3 and 3. The statement's still true. Now watch though. Let's multiply by negative 2. And remember, what do you do to one side? You got to do the other side to keep it balanced. So if I multiply by negative 2 here, okay. So now I have negative 2 times 3, which is negative 6. 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4. But that's not true, right? That's not true. Because when you draw a number line, and here's 0, and here's negative 4, and here is negative 6 is not greater than negative 4. So you have to flip it to make it true. Watch again. We'll do another one, but with a different number. Let's try, here we multiply by negative 2. Let's multiply by negative 3. Multiply by negative 3. Okay, so watch what happens. Negative 3 times 2, negative 6. 4 times negative 3, negative 12. So initially we had 2 that was less than 4. Now when we multiply both by negative 3, we now have negative 6, but negative 6 is not less than negative 12. It's not. If you draw that number line, and here's 0, and here's negative 6, and negative 12 is here, negative 6 is not less. So notice, again, we have to flip that inequality. We have to flip it to make it, or to continue to be true. So twice we multiplied by negatives, And both times we had to flip the inequality to keep the statement true. So that's the why. Whenever you are dividing or multiplying by a negative in an inequality, you have to flip the inequality at the end of the problem to solve it correctly. I hope this makes sense. So, and we'll go over this a little bit more. Again, this is my first time covering this topic, just like it's your first time learning about this topic. So I'm learning as much as you are as far as for me teaching it. Okay. So write this down. The rule. Write that down. The rule: when dividing or multiplying by a negative in an inequality, always flip the inequality sign. And this is an example called transformation. You are transforming the inequality. You know, it's a transformation. It kind of be flipped. Okay. So write that down. Press pause if you need to. Okay, so I'm back. Hopefully you wrote that down. So here, again, we're not really learning anything new as far as how to solve it. The only thing we're learning is what we need to do to the inequality afterwards. So here this says -3 is less than, or -3 times x is less than 6. So I'm going to, in order to solve this, I'm going to divide by -3, divide by -3, just like you would always. And so this would cancel, and this is x, and this is -2, right? 6 divided by -3 is -2. But since we are dividing by a negative, we flip the sign. You just got to remember to do that. When you're dividing by a negative, you flip the sign. Gotcha. Or, watch again, if I'm multiplying, okay, so this one says, what number when you divide by -2, you get greater than or equal to 4? So the opposite of dividing by -2 is multiplying by -2. So you multiply by -2. And so here, this cancels, and so now I have x and I have -8. But because I multiplied by a negative, you flip the sign. You flip the inequality. So now this would be x is less than or equal to -8. So not too complicated. If you memorize that, apply that, it shouldn't be much more that you're learning here. So here's what I want you guys to do. So solve these 4 problems. And then what we'll do is we'll go over each one in class when I see you the next day. I don't know if that's tomorrow or the next day. Okay? So press pause, solve these 4 problems. And then the last thing I want to discuss, or I want you to discuss is, so now let's answer this question. So why do we flip the sign when we are dividing or multiplying by a negative in an inequality? Can you explain what we just covered? Why do you flip that sign? When you get a problem that looks like this, is less than 4, why, and you divide by that -2, and so now why do we flip that sign? Why? Try to explain that. Hope you guys really enjoyed today's lesson. I will see you guys on whatever day, See you. Bye.